So this video is about this beautiful comet that is now in our Northern Hemisphere skies. The comet is called C 2023 Tsuchinshan-ATLAS, and it was discovered by the Purple Mountain Observatory in China and Atlas in South Africa. So there will be two periods of time that it will be visible for us in the Northern Hemisphere. There's this late part of September into the early part of October. You can find this comet very low in the eastern sky about 30 minutes before sunrise. And because it's so close to the horizon and because it's so close to the sunrise time, that's what's going to make it extremely difficult to find. In the Southern Hemisphere, though, we've had some pretty amazing shots, and that's because for them, it's a lot higher in the sky before the sun rises. Now, most people are opting to view this comet on October 12th and onwards when it's in the evening sky, and that is on condition it survives its close approach to the sun, which happens September 27th. But if it can survive that, then it could potentially put on a really amazing show in the evening sky, in the western sky. But as the days progress, it will get higher and higher in the sky, and you have a longer period of time to see it after sunset when the sky is even darker. But the thing is that as time goes on, it will also get dimmer. So there's a bit of a trade-off. But regardless, we're just hoping that it will be much brighter than it is now. So you have two opportunities to see this comet. You have the morning sky from potentially now to October 3rd in the east, very low in the horizon. It could potentially be very dim still. And the next opportunity would be the evening sky after sunset in the west. And it will be low in the sky at first, but it will progressively get higher as the days go by, making it easier to see, but it will also potentially get more dim because it's getting further and further away from us. So tips that I have for viewing the comet. If our weather ever decides to clear, I'll try to go out in the morning to catch it. And for this, especially for this, for the morning views, it will be very low. So you need to have a nice clear horizon. If you don't have a clear horizon, you may miss out on this. I suggest scanning very low east in the horizon. And then if you still don't see it, then I'd say bring a pair of binoculars with you. So here I have the Celestron 10 by 50s, and these are perfect for scanning along the horizon to see if you can see something. It might not pop out right away. It just might look like a star-like object with a very light fuzzy tail. So if you still don't see it when you use binoculars or your eyesight, I suggest taking a picture. So most of the shots that have been taken in the morning period of this comet have been using a lens that's about 100 millimeters or longer focal length. So I suggest attaching one of those types of lenses to your camera, your DSLR or your mirrorless camera, and just shoot in the direction of where you expect the comet to be, and then zoom in on that frame and see if you can see something. So that's usually what I do. And sometimes you're lucky, sometimes it's almost impossible to see. And I suggest doing the same thing if you have a cell phone. I suggest putting it on a tripod. So anything like one of those selfie sticks that opens up in a tripod so it can stay on a solid surface. And then we have an adapter for your phone, and you just add your phone to it and stick this on top. In the middle of October, I'm really hoping that we won't need any special tricks to be able to find this comet. I'm hoping it'll be so much easier to see. And if so, then, you know, just take some short exposures if it's close to the horizon or close to the dusk sky. As the days progress, I suggest taking longer exposures because it will get higher in the sky. The sky will also be darker and it may be more dim. And then I think ultimately when it gets very dim and much higher in the sky, that's when you may want to use a star tracker. So we've got this Star Adventurer Pro. So I'll use this to travel to a location that's maybe a little bit on the darker side and take some tracked exposures and try to take as many exposures as you can. And then you can even try some stacking. There's software like Deep Sky Stacker and Pixinsight that will have very good processing routines for comets. So you can stack the comet and the sky so there's no trailing for either. So that's like a whole nother thing that you might want to research. You can even do stacking exposures with your tripod. You don't have to have a tracker, but it just makes it a lot easier if you do have a tracker, because then you can take longer exposures, longer than, you know, maybe 10 seconds, 20 seconds, depending on what focal length that you're using. I totally suggest having a planetarium app loaded onto your phone or your tablet, and bring that in the field with you, because you'll need to refer to it, I think, if there's a case where the comet is actually hard to find. So use the planetarium app, bring it in the field, and a lot of the times you'll see like some key stars or objects in the night sky that can help you direct you to the location of the comet if it's not bright enough. But there are times when it's so low and the sky is too bright to see any stars or anything else. In the planetarium apps, there's a key to being able to find the object a little bit easier if there are no guide stars, or you don't have like the moon as a reference or anything like that. And one of the things I suggest for locating the comet is to find the object on the planetarium app and look at the coordinates for it. Look at the azimuth coordinates. The azimuth is going to be your compass direction, and then also look at the altitude. And the altitude is going to be how many degrees it is above the horizon. And there's a rule of thumb for gauging how high to look above the horizon by stretching your hand out, and then using either your fist, your finger, or 3 fingers, and it tells you how it will give you the guide for how many degrees to look above the horizon. So if you stretch your pinky out along the horizon, just above the horizon, above your pinky finger would be considered 1 degree of altitude. And then I believe 3 fingers is 5 degrees of altitude, and 10 degrees is fist. I'll put a chart up so you can take a look at that, and just keep that in mind for when you're looking for the objects. So you've got your altitude in degrees and you've got your azimuth. So that will be a helpful guide for pinpointing approximately where the comet should be. The feature that I like on Sky Safari Pro is that it has an augmented reality option. So you can basically hold up your phone or your iPad to the sky during the daytime, and you pick the time of the observation that you'd like to make, and it will show the stars and the object in the field of view. So you'll get a rough idea of where it is, and it uses the GPS of the phone. So it's not always completely accurate, but at least it gives you a rough idea. But to pinpoint it even more for compositions, I suggest using apps like Planet Pro or Photographer's Ephemeris, or photopills as well. So here you can see I have an augmented reality view for comet viewing in the morning from my house. So you can see the comet is probably going to be in the trees. So being at home taking or looking for this comet might not be the best idea. I might have to go to a different location for the morning views. But in the evening views as well, you can see I've got lots of trees around. So of course my property is not going to be a good place to take photos of this comet. Maybe as it gets higher in the sky, I might be able to use my tracker on the driveway, or even my observatory. Oh, so the next thing I want to add is the predicted light curve of this comet can be seen in this chart here. The gray curve is basically the estimated development of the comet's brightness. And then you have the blue and the black dots. Those are actual observations of how bright it is. And then we have the green curve, which shows the potential effect of forward scattering from the sun. So basically with forward scattering, the sunlight will hit the dust from the tail and illuminate it even more. Depending on where it is in the orbit, it could be actually fairly bright and make the comet overall brighter than what we expect it to be. I've seen some predictions saying that with the tail, it could reach a magnitude of -1 to -4. Only time will tell though, so we'll see how bright it gets. As you can see with the light curve, there's actually a quick drop off as well. So this just shows that the lifespan of this comet in terms of brightness will be fairly quick. So really we don't have a huge window for viewing this comet at its brightest. So if we have bad weather, it'll be very unfortunate, but the good thing is that this comet will still be around. It just might not be as spectacular with your unaided eye or through your cell phone or your camera and tripod setup. You might need a tracker eventually. So I did mention the 27th is the closest approach that the comet will get to the sun, and that's called perihelion. But the closest approach that it will be to Earth will be October 12th. I'm going to add a couple shots from friends of mine that are in Chile right now. These two shots here is from Malcolm Park, and you can actually see how quickly the comet got bright in their morning sky over the course of just a couple of days. So it's pretty impressive. And he used a 135 millimeter lens. And you can also see that it has a very nice dusty tail. So this gives us great hope for the middle of the month, when it should be in a more ideal position in our sky here in the Northern Hemisphere, which will be the middle of the month. And then the next two shots are from Yuri Beletsky, and he lives in Chile, but he works up in an observatory in the desert. Those two shots just like blew me away. When I saw that, I was like, man, this is going to be a really good comet. And I really hope that we'll be able to see something like that or even better. Oh, and Yuri actually used a 135 millimeter lens for both his shots. And it did get, you can see it definitely got brighter the next 2 days later. And he employed stacking just to help with the signal to noise ratio and also to bring out the tail a lot more. I'm going to try basically for the morning view to see if I can catch it, and just hoping that the clouds cooperate, because right now it's not looking very good. But if I do catch it in the morning, I will post some videos of me doing it. And the evening sky in the middle of the month, I'm really looking forward to that one as well. So I'm hoping that we don't have any major fall time storms, which we typically have in October. So fingers crossed there. Good luck with the hunt, and I hope you get to see it or photograph it. If you do happen to get some photos, please tag me on social media. I'm at Weather and Sky on most of the platforms for social.